The Israeli ceasefire is taking hold in Israel. Let's go inside the conflict with Amir Fakvari, excuse me for that pronunciation. He is the Senate chairman of the National Iranian Congress, and Thane Rosenbaum from Toro College. Welcome to both of you. Thane, what do you see happening next in this whole thing?
Well, let's just hope the ceasefire holds, right? I mean, in 2014, there were some temporary ceasefires that did not hold. There was one that President Obama asked Netanyahu to implement, and then an Israeli soldier was killed. And I remember at that time, Netanyahu made an announcement. He said, never before am I going to let someone who doesn't understand the complexities of this region tell me what to do. Which, by the way, Carl, is what was surprising about yesterday's Biden, not necessarily taking full credit, but he clearly influenced this ceasefire. And, the Hamas and Islamic Jihad got Israel's attention this time with hundreds and hundreds of rockets being fired at the same time. See, that had never happened before, Carl. It was always, sometimes the rockets didn't even make it out of Gaza. This time, they didn't just land in southern Israel. They were up over Tel Aviv, and hundreds at a time. So that, no doubt, left an impression in the minds of Israelis. And I was surprised that Netanyahu wouldn't want to do what he said he would do in 2014, and which, because he didn't, might have hurt his election chances, which was to finish the job. The Israeli public wants him to finish the job. Don't leave thousands of rockets behind. Don't leave any tunnels behind. And in 2014, Carl, even his cabinet ministers, some of them quit. His foreign minister quit in protest. So, the hope is that it holds, but in his story shows that it doesn't.
And Amir, I apologize for butchering your last name. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Fakhravar. It's hard. You should be Jewish to can mention Khe. It's hard for you.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure that people knew the correct pronunciation of your last name. One of the things that I see there's been ceasefires before, as Thane was just saying, but it appears that Hamas just launches a bunch of rockets. Maybe they run out of rockets and they're like, oh, okay, we'll agree to a ceasefire now. I mean, it's also, Iran is playing a major role here. What's your take on the whole situation?
Trust me, Hamas has enough rockets, but not in Gaza, in Iran. They will send it as much as they want. And Iran, they are not making these missiles and rockets. They are getting it from Russia and China. It's very complicated. It's the storage in Iran for these rockets, and they are shipping it to Hamas easily. Just they need to have money. And the problem right now, if you want to look at the problem, look at the Biden administration. Because Iran envoy at Biden administration, the guy called Robert Malley, he is the problem. He is coming from the background. His father was a Jewish Egyptian Marxist. And in that environment, when he grew up, he thinks everything can be fixed in La La Land, in Cuckoo Land of the Marxists. And he has a very close relationship with Hamas, Robert Malley, Iran envoy at the State Department of Biden. Very close relationship with Hamas, very close relationship with Hezbollah, very close relationship with Iranian lobbyists in Washington, D.C., Nayak Group. And if you look at all of this, and right now they have been for last couple of weeks at the negotiation table in Europe to just bring up again the disastrous Iran deal, JCPOA. And Robert Malley asked Biden to let's send some billions of dollars to Iranian regime because they want to use it to come to the table and be agree with this new deal. And guess what Iran will do with, and it's doing right now with this money, sending it to Hamas.
Right.
That's very easy to understand it.
Yeah, it's shocking to me, so Thane, Benjamin Netanyahu is 71 years old now. It's a little bit younger than Trump, but he's still getting up there. He cannot form a coalition government. So what happens when he's not in power anymore?
Well, it's a very good point, Carl. Look, it's like The Godfather. Netanyahu shows himself to be a wartime prime minister. He thinks this is when I excel, and the Israelis are not going to flip me at a time that we're at war. This was good news for Netanyahu. That's, again, another reason why I was surprised that he didn't wait at least another few days. Look, in Israel, the other candidates are, one of whom, Benny Gantz, is a former IDF, Israeli Defense Forces chief of staff. So these are all experienced military men. And when it comes to defense, Carl, they pretty much all have the same concept. They agree with Amir, right? They understand what they're facing. So it's not like there's any pacifists out there. The question is, what did Israel do enough? Remember, Hamas is claiming victory. What are you supposed to do with an enemy like this? That after 250 people killed with 60 children, there's actually calling victory. Iran's foreign minister said that Hamas forced Israel to retreat. This is the language that's being used. And, there's an old joke that says, don't let, Israel can't let the Arabs out crazy them.
Right.
And that has that feeling today, right? Like they actually think they won. Does that mean that they're going to be deterred from a future attack? I doubt it.
Well, Amir, it's like, the Baghdad Bob. Remember this guy when America was rolling in there? I did 2 tours in Iraq. When they rolled in there, the guy was on the airwaves saying, there's no tanks. We've beaten them back. The Americans are on their way. We overturned Saddam's army in 5 days. It takes longer to get to the moon and back than it takes to overturn the world's 5th largest army. And he was still saying on TV that, Iraq is winning the war. But, is this one of those things like Netanyahu and Israel, if they really wanted to, they could turn Hamas, or the entire Hamas region, into a parking lot, but they do so with precision and tactics and things like that. Why don't they just put an end to it and say, like, hey guys, look, you attack us again, I'm gonna make this Lake Israel?
If they want to fix the problem, they need to fix it in Tehran, because the problem is not there. It's not in Gaza. If Tehran doesn't send money, petrodollars, to these crazies, Ismail Haniyeh and his team, and Hamas or other terrorists, Hezbollah and the rest of them, how they want to survive. They are getting all their equipments, their monies, their supports from Iran, from Iranian crazy mullahs in power. And as I mentioned in my book, Comrade Ayatollah, that everything goes back to the Marxists, either in Russia or in China. We should follow their path to see what is happening here. And the last point I want to mention about the Biden administration, the direct message to them. How dare they can right now sit on the table and talk with some representative from Iranian supreme leader, the serial killer who killed last year 1,500 Iranian kids in street, the protesters. And Biden administration is okay to go and talk with these crazy mullahs?
Doesn't
so
seem
sorry.
productive. Yeah. Thane, Amir, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.